Hey, welcome back to my lesson on timber-based tools. And remember, what we're trying to do is make you aware of lots of different tools that you'll find in the workshops. And we're looking at shaping tools today. And I'm going to start with the jack plane. Now, a jack plane is made up of two handles. And your most powerful hand goes here, and your weaker hand goes here. And the idea is that there is a blade running through. Here it is. It runs through the plane. It actually sticks out at the bottom by a very small amount, which you can adjust with this wheel. So you can get the blade to stick out a small amount or, a lot. Then when you drive your plane over the top of your wood, you're going to take off a shaving. And it's a lovely feeling when you get these little shavings of wood coming out of the plane. Now, what's a jack plane good for? Well, imagine you get a piece of wood and you check it. Here we go. That's at 90 degrees. You can see this one is quite nice and square. But sometimes that's not the case, that we get a piece of wood which isn't level. So if I check this with my tri-square, you can see there that it's got quite a slant on it. I've exaggerated that, of course, so you can see it. And this imperfection will run across the whole length of the wood. So I'd be able to take my jack plane and I'd be able to shave along here. Oh, no, obviously not on the tri-square. Get that out of the way. But I would shave along here until I've removed all the pieces. And that's going to give me a really nice smooth face here, which we call a face side. And this is nice and level. Oh, I don't know whether to show you this, but here we go. This is the little carpenter's symbol to show that. And then if I make sure that this angle here is 90 degrees, then I also get what we call a face edge. And again, it's got its own little symbol. Oh, I'm going to get fired from the Carpenter's Secret Club telling you these symbols. Now, of course, we've even got a bigger one for longer pieces of wood, which we call a triplane. And then a little small one, which we call a smoothing plane, when we want to get a really nice fine surface. Smoothing plane. Now, you might be saying, oh, Simon, why have I not used a plane before? Well, the fact is that all your work is prepared for you, isn't it, on the bandsaw? So, a lot of these troubles are cut away for you. But here we can have a neat little trick. If you hold the plane on an angle and just run it down the edge or corner of your wood, then you're going to get this lovely little chamfer as a bit of detail on your work. Now, a plane will take little slivers of wood off for you. But if you wanted to sort of like rough down a piece of wood and really get it shaped up quickly, then a surform is your tool. It has a really rough surface on this side, like a cheese grater, and it'll really rip your wood up, but it will get a lot of wood off in one go. And another tough tool like this is called a rasp. It has little teeth sticking out of the surface here. And both of these tools are good for like free-form work, where you want to just shape up maybe a handle or a bit of sculpture. And I've got some finer files here, which we call second cut files. And then we can use these to get a smoother surface and, even more detail. We base the name of these tools depending on the cross-section of the file shape. So this first one here, we've got a square file. This one has a rectangular cross section like this, but this is a general file, so we call it the normal hand file. This file has a triangular cross section. That's funny, isn't it? But we don't call this one a triangular file, we call it a three-sided file. This one's great for getting on the inside the corners because it's flat on one side but round on the other. And we call this a half round file. Really useful one, really useful to have this one. And the cross section of this one is completely round. So obviously we call this the round file, or we have a little nickname for it. It's called a rat's tail. I wonder why. Now that's a really good set of hand files to have. And you may come across a smaller set of files like this, which have a smoother surface. So we call these a smooth cut files. They're all the same shape, but they just have finer teeth. And then for those really tricky little corners and edges, we have a set of needle files, which are really small indeed. So what the rasps and surforms do is that they remove the wood fast. And then what we need is the finer files to put smaller scratches over the bigger scratches so we can't see them. And then we need even finer scratches over these second cut scratches to make them even smaller so that our eye can't see them. And then we need even finer scratches over the top of that. But we can't use files anymore. We're going to use something called glasspaper, or you might know it as sandpaper. Now, I know this is not a tool, but it's worth mentioning now. So glasspaper has its own international standard organization grit size, which everyone must follow. And it goes from the roughest size, around about P12, right up to a really fine size, which is 2,500. So you can imagine if we took a little square like this, a centimetre by a centimetre, and then counted all the pieces of grit inside there, if we got a low number like 12, then it's going to be really big particles and therefore very rough. Okay. If we take another piece of finer glass paper and we counted the little dots and we find that there's a lot more grit inside, then it's going to be smoother. So typically in school we start off with something like P60, which is, or P80, which is a medium glass paper. And if we double that up, then you go to P120, which becomes a fine glass paper. And then if you get up to something like 220, 240, then you're into the very fine mode. And this is good enough to get your work looking really super smooth and clean. Well, we shaped up really well there, so I'll see you next time.